Calaroga Shark Media.
Johnny Mac with your daily comedy news. A very, very robust Friday with several major stories, but let's start with the Netflix is a Joke Festival, which will be back in 2024, May 2nd to the 12th. More than 300 shows across 35-plus LA venues. The Hollywood Bowl will feature the biggest acts, including Trevor Noah, Kevin Hart, Bill Burr, Jerry Seinfeld, John Mulaney, and, we'll see if this actually happens, Matt Rife. The Hollywood Bowl will also host Ladies' Night with a lineup including Taylor Tomlinson, Sarah Silverman, Nikki Glaser, Michelle Buteau, and an evening titled Seth Rogen Smokes the Bowl featuring music and comedy. This is insane. This is huge. Over at the Forum, Netflix will host Groat, the greatest roast of all time, which is a roast of Tom Brady. Jeff Ross will host that night. Some of Tom Brady's famous friends and frenemies will gather together to light up Tom Brady. Chris Rock will host star-studded table reads of his favorite films at the Hollywood Palladium. The list of people at the festival so far. This is Sean reading a list, but I got to do it. You got to hear these names. You ready? This is no joke. Ali Wong, Atsuko Okatsuko. Remember when she was in the news every day for like 3 months? Haven't heard her name in a month or so. Anthony Jeselnik, Burr Kreischer, Beth Stelling, Bill Burr, Brett Goldstein. If I stopped right there, you'd be like, this is a pretty cool festival. We're only up to the B's. Cedric the Entertainer, Celeste Barber. So I'm 10 names in, and Celeste Barber, the least known name, right? Chelsea Handler, Chris Rock, Craig Robinson, Daniel Tosh, Dane Cook. Interesting. Dane, tends to be a comedy outsider. David Letterman, Demetri Martin, Deon Cole, Earthquake, Fortune Feimster, Hannah Berner, Hannah Gadsby, Heather McMahan, Iliza Shlesinger, Jason Mantzoukas, Jeff Ross, Jerry Seinfeld, Jessi Klein, Jessica Kirson, Joel Kim Booster, John Mulaney, Jon Stewart, Jim Gaffigan, Jim Jeffries, Jimmy Carr. I mean, wow. Justin Willman, Catherine Ryan, Cat Williams, Kevin Hart, Country Wayne, Kumail Nanjiani, Leanne Morgan, Leslie Jones, Lunel, Mae Martin, Mark Normand. Again, I know I'm reading a really long list, but you listen to these names, man. Marlon Wayans, Mateo Lane, Matt Rife. We'll see if that happens. Maya Rudolph, Michelle Buteau, Mike Birbiglia, Mike Epps, Moshe Kasher, Natasha Leggero, Nate Bargatze, Nicole Byer, Nick Kroll, Nikki Glaser, Patton Oswalt, Phil Rosenthal. Yes, I'm only up to the P's. What a list. I'm going to keep going. Rachel Bloom, Ralph Barbosa, Ronnie Chang, Roy Wood Jr., Ryan Hamilton, who I love, Sam J., Sarah Silverman, Sebastian Maniscalco, Seth Rogen, Shane Gillis, Sheng Wang, Stavros Halkias, Taylor Tomlinson, Tim Dillon, who I love, Tim Robinson, Tom Brady, Tom Papa, Tom Segura, Trevor Noah, Virdaz, Wanda Sykes, and Dodgers player Will Smith, not the actor. They qualify. Wow. Unbelievable. You want to go? Tickets go on sale today, 10 a.m. Pacific. Let me break down the individual highlights at the Hollywood Bowl. 8 nights. Jerry Seinfeld, Jim Gaffigan, Nate Bargatze, Sebastian Maniscalco, Bill Burr, John Mulaney, Seth Rogen, Matt Rife, Taylor, Sarah, Nikki, and Michelle, Kevin Hart, Trevor Noah. Wow. At the Forum, the Tom Brady roast, also Tom Segura and Bert Kreischer. I believe those are separate shows, but I'll check on that. At the Palladium, Chris Rock's Table Reads, very interesting. Dodgers Comedy Night, hosted by Cedric the Entertainer and presented by Dodgers catcher Will Smith. Chris Rock has to come by that for the easy joke. Yes, maybe it's a little hacky. You got to do it. At the Greek Theater, Big Mouth Live with Nick Kroll, Maya Rudolph, John Mulaney, Jessi Klein, and Jason Mantzoukas. Also at the Greek Theater, Jon Stewart and Friends. Separately from that, Shane Gillis. Separately from that, I Think You Should Leave with Tim Robinson. Ali Wong and Sheng Wang play the Wiltern. Ronnie Chang, Wanda Sykes, Daniel Tosh play the Dolby. Letterman, Mark Normand, Iliza Shlesinger, Heather McMahan, Dane Cook, Rachel Bloom, and Catherine Ryan, all at the Montalban. At the YouTube Theater, Cat Williams' The Dark Matter Tour will be recorded for Netflix. Chelsea Handler, Fortune Feimster, Mateo Lane, Sam J., and Vanessa Gonzalez host 3 Gays, a Mexican, and a Jew. Great title. A Night of Comedy with Chelsea Handler and Friends. Kill Tony at the YouTube Theater. Wow, that's awesome. At the Orpheum, Brett Goldstein, Celeste Barber, Virdaz, Country Wayne. At the theater at Ace Hotel, Hannah Gadsby, Ralph Barbosa, Papa, Nanjiani, Patton, Berbiggs, Jimmy Carr, Marlon Wayans, Phil Rosenthal, Hannah Berner, Jeselnik, Demetri Martin. At the Avalon, the wonderfully titled Mae Martin and Brett Goldstein Make Love to One Another on stage. Separate from that, Felipe Esparza. Wow, this is crazy. All right, I'm going to stop because I'm just reading you lists, but this is amazing. Great job, Netflix. 6 minutes into the podcast, I've only done one story. All right, other major news. Trevor Noah will host the 2024 Grammy Awards. It's his 4th time. He announced this on his podcast, What Now with Trevor Noah. Trevor said, I think it's important to acknowledge something. I'm hosting the Grammys. I'm excited about that. Yeah, it's a lot of fun. I enjoy the Grammys because I get to watch the show in person and then experience and comment in on person while it's happening. The Grammys are February 4th. Vulture points out, Trevor, if he wins, he'd be the 4th Grammy host to win during a show that they hosted. On this next story, I'm going to pull my punch here. I'm going to do a lot of wink, wink, nudge, nudge, know who I mean, because I don't want to be investigated by the Secret Service. The Messenger reports the Secret Service investigated comedian Shane Gillis for saying that seeing a particular person, wink, wink, nudge, nudge, Secret Service involved, you know who I mean, and not the current guy, the guy before the current guy. Shane Gillis apparently told a joke about the person with that big job back in 2019. I'm quite paraphrasing here again. I don't want to be investigated, and Secret Service, appreciate that you guys love the show. I'm just reporting on a news story. Shane said, paraphrasing here, of all the, people with that big job I've been alive for, that guy who had it at the time, not the guy who has it now. I'm not asking for that. I don't want that to happen, but it'd be funny to see. He'd be on stage talking crap. The shooter would be coming at him, and he'd be like, sit down. He'd definitely make a funny noise when he got hit. It would be funny. Shane Gillis wrote on Twitter back then, I'm a comedian who pushes boundaries. I sometimes miss. My intention is never to hurt anyone, but I'm trying to be the best comedian I can be, and sometimes that requires risks. The Messenger says, a look around YouTube and TikTok shows that Shane Gillis has recycled a joke at other comedy clubs around the country. In 2021, Gillis retold that joke during a special taped in Austin, but that time included a joke about the guy who currently has the big job. Gillis suggests that that person is the first person with that big job that someone could kill with a punch. A reference to that person's age and perceived fragility. Again, Secret Service, I'm just reporting a news story here. Appreciate that you guys listen. So the Messenger tells us, after Gillis's act at the stand was picked up by news outlets, the joke caught the attention of a protective intelligence research specialist at the Secret Service, according to documents obtained by the Messenger. The Secret Service employee noted the joke in an email with the subject line, discovery of threatening statement by comedian Shane Gillis. Per this report, the employee wrote that they found Gillis's joke by doing routine open source intelligence research and found that multiple news outlets had reported on the joke. In the records, the Secret Service writes that Gillis was not interviewed when he made inappropriate statements towards guy with big job, and the information had not been presented to the U.S. Attorney's Office. To conduct their productive intelligence assessment of Shane Gillis, the Secret Service pulled his personal information, such as his social security number, criminal history, last known phone number, address, and vehicle information. They also checked 3 internal databases for reports about past threats. A Secret Service deputy special agent in charge told the Messenger, the Secret Service is aware of the comments made by Mr. Gillis, and as a matter of practice, we do not comment on matters involving protective intelligence. We can say, however, that the Secret Service investigates all threats related to our protectees. The Messenger reminds us Gillis is not the first comedian to be investigated for jokes about the guy with the big job. In 2021, John Mulaney apparently was investigated about a joke made on SNL. Mulaney further joked with Jimmy Kimmel that he'd been investigated by the agency for a joke about Roman dictator Julius Caesar. Another big story. From page 6, the New York comedy scene is being shaken by allegations that an SNL cast member lifted a catchphrase from Giannis Pappas. Page 6 is told there's been a flurry of angry messages and finger-pointing between comics, cast members, and other members of the SNL team after an alleged blatant ripoff. If you saw last week's episode, Marcelo Hernandez played a flamboyant Hispanic character who used the catchphrase, "That's it," many times. However, apparently Giannis Pappas has been doing a beloved Hispanic character called Marisa for years with the catchphrase, "That's it." Pappas told Page 6, I'm kind of torn on the situation. Part of me is honored, but the other part of me has to find out about the bit the next day from people tagging me and writing me about this. I've been doing stand-up comedy for 2 decades now, so I'm not an up-and-coming comedian. I'm surprised nobody in the writer's room spoke up about this. I find it hard to believe Marcelo wasn't aware of me and the character. A source close to SNL told Page 6, with respect to Giannis and his comedy, this sketch and its premise was independently created. That's it was a commonly used phrase in Marcelo's household and Latin community growing up in Miami. The sketch was not written with Giannis's character in mind. Page 6 reminds us the show has been accused of plagiarism a dozen or so times in its 48-year history. In his 2004 memoir, Gasping for Airtime, former cast member Jay Moore admitted to stealing a sketch from comic Rick Shapiro. Michael McDonald, the singer. He's got a new book coming out. Why are you telling me about this, Johnny Mac? Well, guess who co-wrote it? Wrong. Of course, Paul Reiser is the co-writer. I was like, what? Apparently, Paul Reiser has several books, including Couplehood, Babyhood, and Familyhood. Paul Reiser tells People magazine. I sort of made a joke because I would periodically ask Michael McDonald questions I didn't understand about the doobies and about him, and I said jokingly, you should write a book so I don't have to bother you all the time. And he said, I've thought about it, but I don't know how you start that. During the pandemic, apparently, they worked on it. It is called What a Fool Believes. Good title. It will cover McDonald's long career, his interaction with other musicians, and his battles with drug and alcohol addiction. It'll be out in May. Kathy Griffin, she's been investigated by the feds at some point. She was speaking to The Pitch Kansas City, who said, we read somewhere that your new stand-up tour came together at a moment's notice. Have you been waiting patiently for all the planets to align like this? Kathy said, yeah, I've been writing stuff this whole time because I've been doing it for so many decades. I can't help but look at everything through the prism of what would be funny. Honestly, it's just pitiful. I've been taking my little notes the whole time, waiting for Hollywood to get over themselves and come back to me. And no joke, I just got a manager 2 or 3 months ago, and then they got me an agent a couple weeks later. I think the people who buy tickets probably know about my cancer and how my voice is a little higher pitched now. I talk about that part because I didn't know cancer was accidentally funny. But let me tell you something. When you have cancer, it's the great equalizer. And if I'm called Kathy Lee Gifford one more time at the medical office, I'm on the D list, even in my cancer medical appointments. But I'm cancer-free now. So I was actually injured during my surgery when they took out half my left lung. Half my left lung, gone. It's somewhere in a hazard bin, somewhere in Beverly Hills, along with my dignity. And from the Irish Star, your home for comedy news, comedian Katie Boyle has explained Irish slang to Americans. She's been living in New York for nearly a decade, but sometimes uses phrases that the Americans don't understand. I remember back in the 90s, I had several Irish friends, and they would ask me if I wanted to go out for some crack. And in the 90s, when you said that to me, I'm like, no, I don't really do cocaine derivatives. Thank you, though. Apparently, crack, C-R-A-I-C, would just mean want to go out for some good fun. Wonderful word to throw in a sentence if you want to confuse somebody. Katie Boyle's been confusing people by using the phrase in bits, which I'm familiar with. She explained on stage, if we're sick, we'll say, I'm in bits. But when I said that to Americans, they were like, sorry, what? I had to explain it. And I was like, it means sick because I'm in bits. I'm in little pieces. I'm not whole. I was like, oh my God, are we just all poets in Ireland? This is so embarrassing. Katie said, every time I go home, the humor is so subtle, I have to remind myself that most people are being sarcastic all the time. Here, if you're going to be sarcastic, you have to add a bit more tone. Irish people are just naturally funnier in general and funnier with dark stuff. Irish audiences are chattier and interactive in a fun way. And that's your comedy news for today. If you enjoy the show, tell a friend about it. If you'd like to support the show, you can go to buymeacoffee.com/dailycomedynews, and I'll meet you back here tomorrow. Thanks.